Welcome to Technologized. I'm Philippa Biggs, and today I'm discussing the State of Broadband in Africa 2025 report with Commissioner Lacina Koné, Director General and Chief Executive Officer, Smart Africa. Commissioner Koné, thank you very much for joining us today. We are delighted to speak with you. You have been the Director General and Chief Executive Officer of Smart Africa since March 2019. And in this capacity, we know you have been a very committed supporter and dedicated commissioner on the Broadband Commission. So we're genuinely very pleased to have you with us today. I wonder if I could begin by asking you, what in your opinion have been the Broadband Commission's main achievements?
Thank you very much for inviting me to this podcast session. I'm grateful for that. For me, one of the Broadband Commission's most important achievement has been really its ability to convene. It has created a trusted space where leaders, from the government sector, industry, academia, and civil society can actually engage in honest, solution-oriented dialogue. This is not just a forum for discussion. We see it as Smart Africa as a platform for shared learning, because commissioners, they bring perspective from very different reality around the world. Yet we are able to align around common challenges and practical solutions. The Commission has also played a key role in shaping global digital priorities. Its work, for example, on affordability, closing the gender digital divide, and also promoting national broadband strategies has actually influenced policymakers worldwide, particularly in the developing regions such as Africa. So in many ways, I can say this mirrors what we stand for at Smart Africa Alliance, building a neutral platform where diverse stakeholders, comes together, align, and act. That spirit itself of collaboration is one of the Commissioner's strongest, I see, and the most enduring contribution.
Well, thank you very much. I hope it's all merited. And I would like to ask you, what has the State of Broadband report represented for you over the years?
Over the years, the State of the Broadband report has consistently been a reference document for discussions and decision makers as well. Its strength lies actually not only in the quality of the analysis they provide, but in its continuity. Years after years, it gets much better. It provides measurable indicators against the global targets that allow us to track progress in a structured way. It also serves as an important mechanism for knowledge exchange among commissioners, because we come from different, diverse backgrounds, whether on policy reform, technology evolutions, investment trends, or even capacity building effort across the broadband ecosystem. Digital economy is a sector that evolves as rapidly as the digital connectivity. That shared evidence-based perspective is very critical. So the report helps anchor discussions and facts while, highlighting really the emerging trends that require our collective attention.
Thank you. That's good to know. And then I would like to ask you a little bit more specifically about this year's State of Broadband in Africa report. I did, in fact, vow to myself to read more reports about Africa written by Africans rather than the international level statistics written by people with very little cultural understanding of African countries and ways of doing things. For me, what was so helpful is the contributions by African commissioners and ministers to help explain what African countries are doing, and also, of course, the incredible energy of African operators. But I'd like to ask you about your views on the State of Broadband in Africa report.
Yeah, the Africa Focus report is particularly timely. The continent is, undergoing a period of intense digital investments and transformation. And this report captures key trends in connectivity in our own term, market in our own term, regulation in our own term, and emerging technology, including artificial intelligence. It reflects the scale and the momentum we are seeing across the continent, not only from government, but also from private investors and development partners who increasingly recognize the continent's digital potential. That said, though, Africa's complexity and diversity warrant even a deeper analysis. Our challenges and opportunity are very unique. I keep on telling people we're not in the race because we did not have the same starting points. So obviously, we're not going to have the same finish line. So future editions would benefit from a stronger representation of Africans' voice, both in the data and in the narrative. I would also welcome really more emphasis on how Africans are actually using broadband and AI to address our local challenge in our local context. This requires, of course, a stronger local data set, better digital record, and a sustained investments in the digital public infrastructure, DPI. As adoption, of course, accelerate also, these insights will become increasingly critical.
Thank you. That's very interesting. So it's really about getting the whole ecosystem right.
Yes.
And it's about how people are using mobile and internet services in their context.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned the critical role of investment in helping build that broadband future. It's really investing in the future.
Absolutely.
So perhaps I can ask you, what are the biggest impacts you are seeing from digital transformation in Africa?
The impact is really broad and tangible. In agriculture, for example, farmers are accessing real-time weather data and the market price. It's not like before our fathers or grandfather time. Let's go do farming and pray that it rains, and we can't even predict the raining season sometime. In healthcare example, digital platforms are expanding access and improving service delivery. And there's no question about that. We can see exactly in healthcare how digital transformation, and I keep on saying, we want banking services without bank. We've proved it. Mobile money today in rural area where there's no bank. We want healthcare services. We don't want hospital. What does that actually mean? Using telemedicine and the digital broadband to be able to run some diagnosis at the distance. So across the continent, small businesses, are leveraging mobile money and digital payment at scale, fundamentally transforming our commerce. Governments are also digitizing public services, this is part of the impact, improving efficiency, transparency, and citizen engagement. At the same time, Africa's youth are building solutions tailored to local realities. It's very important in fintech, logistics, education, e-commerce, and beyond. So at the core of all these progress is broadband. Connectivity is no longer optional. It is the foundation that enables any productivity, any innovation, and any inclusion. So when people are connected, opportunity falls. And with the right policies and investments, this momentum can be truly transformational.
Thank you, sir. That's very insightful. And certainly it's clearly, broadband is being used in a range of different ways, digital transformation very broadly. Sir, I see you've had a very distinguished career spanning telecommunications, satellite, and indeed both consulting, both the private and public sectors. Could I ask you a little bit more of a personal question here? Would you recommend smart tech as a career? And if so, why?
That is a very interesting question, given my background. But without hesitation, yes, I will recommend it. Technology is shaping every sector of our economy. It's transversal, it's not vertical sector. And young people, especially young women, must see themselves as active leaders in that future. You will tell me why technology, why not other sector? Even our own kids today, 4 years old daughter or 4 years old son, the sector that you don't teach, you don't need to teach them that. Is just by handing a cell phone, an iPad to them, they will figure out it themselves. That's how fast things are moving. So I strongly encourage young girls to pursue career in technology because these fields offer the power to create, to innovate, and to solve real societal challenges. And that's what Africa needs. Africa needs more women designing solutions, leading companies, shaping policies, and building our digital future. My message to them is very simple. Your perspective matters. Your ideas are needed, and you belong in this space. Whether it is artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, software development, or even digital entrepreneurship, the opportunities are vast. And institutions like Smart Africa, alongside, of course, our partners, are committed to supporting that journey.
That's certainly very true. Very few young people need to be taught the technologies in the same way I need it. So yes, I would completely agree with you. There's a lot of youthful exploration and energy that young people can bring to this sector and really help it develop. Perhaps now I could ask you a little more specifically about Smart Africa. What is Smart Africa's role in developing broadband in African countries?
Smart Africa, as you know, it's a Pan-African organization put together in 2013 with only one vision: transforming Africa into a single digital market. By saying that, it means it's really a multi-stakeholder management, bringing public sector, private sector, development partners, and academia, civil society to come to agree on something. But why? Why do we need it? For Africa, in order to leapfrog, we should not be seeing the potentials in Africa as a single country. Kenya, 50 million population, Rwanda, 14 million. You look at a holistic view as a 1.4 billion population. That's our role. So our role actually includes coordination, harmonization in terms of policies that reflect or so policies that touch connectivity, innovations, and transformation. And the biggest evidence today is the era of artificial intelligence we're living in today. No single country can do it alone because artificial intelligence sits, first of all, on a huge amount of power, a huge amount of data set, and also human capital, which are the youth. As you know, 60% of African population represent age group below 25 years old. That's about 600 million people. So if we're encouraging youngsters like girls and boys for technology, we also have an obligation for capacity building because the youth will be only meaningful if they are properly trained. That is the role of Smart Africa. That's the reason even this year we created Africa AI Council to be able to have an African voice for artificial intelligence. As you know, who says artificial intelligence? We talk about biases. Imagine an artificial intelligence which is not taking African reality into account. The algorithms are biased. The context is very different. It means we could be left behind. For that reasons, Africa should not be left behind because our approach for artificial intelligence, it is to get into a useful AI, not the most powerful AI, which is extremely important. The useful AI, how do we address agricultural? Because 60% of our workforce in Africa, which are contributing about 32% of the GDP, are in agriculture. How do we optimize it using AI? Healthcare system, that's one thing. Education is another thing. Fintech is another thing. Credit scoring and so on and so forth. So we have a huge task to do, which is harmonizing policies and also assisting our country putting together the national strategy. Of course, this is not done as a silo, in the silo. No. We're doing this together with the whatever data governance models are out there at the UN level, at the ITU level, at the European level, because we are not living in a silo. If we want to be a cornerstone of technology, the future, it has to be developed with Africa, not for Africa. Big difference. Policy should be designed with Africa, not for Africa, because we do not want to be a consumer anymore, but we want to be a producer. We want to be at the center of what our core assets are.
And indeed, hopefully the policies are being designed by Africans, countries and governments at this very moment. So you're absolutely right, sir. We're all in this together in the global village where the boundaries no longer exist online.
Absolutely.
So I think you actually touched a bit there on the bias and the data issues, but just to ask you a little bit more specifically, what do you see as the major issues going forward in broadband and digital technologies?
I like this question because it touches, AI, broadband, and digital technology. Currently, Africa is sitting at around 46% on average in terms of broadband connectivity, while the world is around 66, I believe 67, depending on the, report from Broadband Report. Why? Is it a lack of capacity to Africa? No. It is due to something we observed for the past 4 to 5 years. We call a usage gap. It means the broadband connectivity is already in areas, but the population are not using it for 4 reasons. Affordability, smart devices cost, local context, cyber hygiene. You see, none of these 4 are really related to investment because the usage gap sits today at close to 50%, depending on average, depending on the countries. So if we focus on tweaking on affordability, looking at the fiscal policies, how do we make broadband affordable? Focusing on the mass, not the few, in terms of tariffing, because how Africa can be the continent which is the fastest growing in terms of internet consumption, and we're still the continent which has the highest price of internet. It does not make any sense. And the broadband is actually there. So by looking at the fiscal policy, by looking at the price of the devices, and by also creating things in the local context, what does that actually mean? I will not get the smartphone and the broadband connectivity just for social media. There has to be a purpose, which is developing application in the local context. Most likely before 2030, if we address those challenges, we could be reaching close to 75 to 80% in terms of broadband penetration. But we are lucky to have now artificial intelligence, the era of artificial intelligence. It's actually, I call it's a pivotal moment, as the artificial intelligence will be an equalizer. All what I said before is applicable to a situation where indigenous people do not have access to broadband technology, do not even have access to digital economy because they don't speak any other language. So the artificial intelligence should be used as a tool for us to include those people in their own local languages. And today, AI, of course, with the large language model or the medium language module, can actually see it. So what we really see in the future, the Smart Africa, is debatable. We truly believe that the future of the AI, the AI will be decentralized, not centralized. Because with more than 2,000 languages in Africa, if you look at the literacy rate, around 55%. What about the remaining 45%? It means if they cannot interact with the technology, they will be excluded. So the AI will allow Africa to include a segment of those people so that they can have a democratic participation in the social economic development.
Thank you. That's really interesting. I'm unfortunately not really able to try out an LLM in Swahili or Zulu, but I'm not sure what kind of results it would be giving at this point.
Well, I've already tried it. It is happening today. Unfortunately, it's happening today in data centers which are not located in Africa. I interact with my AI agents in the Wolof. I interact with my AI agent in Arabic. I interact with my in other languages. Yes, it is happening. Same thing, same instruction I gave in English, the same instruction I gave in indigenous languages in Africa, and it will provide you the information you want.
Well, rest assured, I'm still very happy to be speaking with you rather than your avatar. And certainly your personal insights are very much appreciated. There is a bit of I don't think there's been enough research done about what people really want to use these applications for. We are still learning about it. Everybody knows about the school children wanting to cheat on their homework.
Yeah.
But we need to understand a lot more about how different people, different types of profiles in the population, different individuals want to use it. Certainly, there's a lot of supposition that elderly people could help combat loneliness.
Yes.
I'm not sure that's ever an issue
No,
in large African families.
well, absolutely. That's what I said. I always said that we're not looking for an AI girlfriend or boyfriend. We're very social already. We're looking for AI that is useful. It made the farmers, young entrepreneurs who do not have access to opportunity, and that's what we're looking for. And that's the reason I do believe that the continent of Africa will be the bedrock of use cases in terms of inclusion. No doubt about it.
That's wonderful. That's good to hear. And certainly you have a lot of energy and confidence and dynamism. I can see that. So thank you very much, sir. That was really insightful, and we really appreciate your involvement in the Commission.
Thank you very much, Philippa. Thank you.
So thanks for joining us today. And if you would like to find out more, please go to www.itu.int or indeed the Broadband Commission site, www.broadbandcommission.org.